Hey everyone, my name is Ray, and today is day 6. Well, actually, yesterday was day 5 of my second fasting attempt. I'll call it not an attempt, but a success. Yesterday I went 5 days before I decided to go ahead and take food again. I'd taken a break from my first water fast, which turned into a juice fast, which almost turned into intermittent fasting. But really I just took a break from the fast altogether. So I made it 13 and a half days without eating any food. Actually closer to 14 days because I didn't have any food until that evening. But that's when I broke my fast at 14 days. I lowered my blood pressure about 25 points, and that was no small feat because I'd been taking prescription medications for a long time prior to that to try and get my blood pressure under control, and then I stopped taking medications and instead I lost weight. I lost 80 pounds by eating a lot less meat. I took this challenge called the 7-Day Vegan Challenge that this guy Ralph Smart had talked about, and after doing that and feeling so much better and losing weight as an unexpected side result, again I lost 80 pounds. After having lost that amount of weight, my blood pressure barely changed. And so I tried a few other things. You know, I stopped eating sugar altogether, with the exception of fruit. And maybe that's the trick for me. I'm not sure. Actually, it's not, because I've done an experiment with that as well. But the whole point is that I was unable to drop my blood pressure, and so I looked further and I saw that people who went through a water fast were having some success lowering their blood pressure. So that's what I did, and starting down that journey and going almost 14 complete days without eating food at all, I did drop my blood pressure by about 25 points, which again is no small feat because the medications I had to take to do that same thing, they had some side effects that were associated with them, probably lifelong. Just knowing that there's an ability to lower blood pressure without medication is something that many people will not try or repeat because these discussions can sometimes trigger fear. Whenever I talk about food and eating less meat, especially here in Texas where barbecue and all those type of, Mexican food, fajitas and all the delicious hamburgers and everything that we can take from here, talking about not eating those things is a scary concept. And it might be even more scary during these times when we have limited opportunities to travel and when we're supposed to be sheltering in place and minimizing contact with one another. Let me, at the same time as we're thinking about that, let me factor this into that morsel of consideration. Every time we go and pick up a curbside delivery, we're being handed bags and packaging that has been handled by a multitude of other people. So if we're really wanting to limit exposure to something that can live and persist on different materials for an unknown amount of time, maybe we should also be very careful with what it is we're harvesting and ingesting on a regular basis. Plant-based, in more cases than not, has the most minimum handling from basically from garden to table. And if you're able to, if you're lucky enough to, I have a fig tree behind me, if you're lucky enough to, as time goes by, you might have even already planted some things in your own yard that will yield a even more direct source of food directly to your table. I have a really amazing tomato garden that's growing in the backyard. I started it late last year, and the weather has allowed it to grow to proportions that I was not expecting, to be honest, and at the same time I was hoping for. And I would talk to my plants regularly, asking them to, to be well and to accept my blessings as I watered them, and maybe that helped. A lot of people might think some of these things as crazy, and a lot of others might go and do further research on YouTube and do a search like classical music, the effects of classical music on guitars, or on children whose minds are developing. Maybe peaceful thoughts being talked to plants or animals, and those effects versus the effects of negativity and things that we can sometimes tend to drown ourselves in. So on that same token, think about the fact that when we talk with one another, if we're showcasing fear, sometimes that also can increase, or if we're talking peace, decrease the blood pressure of those people around us. We're all an interwoven fabric of a tapestry that's basically known as this global life or universal life. And everything that we do, every string that we are, if we're under stress or if we're perfectly aligned, helps to perfectly align the next piece of fabric or stress it out further. So we're either tearing ourselves apart or interweaving each other in a way that makes sense. So today, like I say, I wanted to talk about this fast because I had a segment going and it's just suddenly ended, but I wanted to follow up again. I just heard a raven or some kind of crow. It's an uncommon thing that I hear around this area. In fact, it's flying over right now. Did you catch that? A lot of times when I'm talking about things that are relevant and have a major point, something unusual will fly over. And in this case, it was a raven. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. I'm not saying that ravens don't fly through here, but it's uncommon. I usually see those when I'm out in West Texas at Big Bend, or up north in Montana in the Yellowstone area or something like that. And this is one of the first ravens I've had fly over, and you heard it calling out. How cool was that? Anyway, so fasting. When I started this, I started it so that I could raise awareness towards wellness and conservation. Why wellness and conservation? Well, when I started talking earlier, I talked about the packaging and the amount of packaging that we're bringing into our homes when we bring all these take-home options into our homes. That's a lot of packaging that didn't need to be generated. So if you have your reusable bags to put a bunch of oranges into, or whatever fruit comes in its own packaging, maybe consider doing that for a week as your fast. A lot of the religious segments in traditional times used to go without meat during the Lent time frame for at least Wednesday and Friday, or for Friday and Saturday. And then it came down to where they were only doing it on Fridays, where you would do away without meat. I'm going to go so far as to say that while the world is suffering, and while we are attempting to achieve different results, maybe in our own lives, not necessarily in other people's lives, but in our own lives, we can choose to go without, or to go with a different version of something in order to temper ourselves. I like to call it self-control, and a lot of people like to overlook what I'm saying as something that's not necessary. I think that our health is our wealth, and in order to retain our wealth, we need to continue to not only take care of ourselves, but to take care of others. Because we ourselves have, in this particular format, we have a finite amount of time that we have the ability to do all these amazing things that we do in the bodies that we occupy. And then at some point, as we age, other people have to help us transition into the next segment of whatever is happening. So in the way of the world, we used to have a family structure that was centralized. I remember when my grandparents were alive, we used to have dinners together pretty frequently, at least every weekend and then some. And then as that era disappeared from my life, we didn't ever get together quite the same way again. And as social media took hold, we became more aware of what everyone was doing without ever really maintaining contact with those around us. And those separations, although they seem natural, because most of us grew up in the computer era who are looking at this right now, they're really quite unnatural, because you're seeing me talk, but you may not really see me, if that makes sense. And a lot of people that I used to know are acting as if they just don't know me anymore. Especially now that I talk about things like eating less meat and fasting and all that. I do these things for my health. And I do these things for my health so that I can help others to achieve the things that they're wanting to achieve. And that's why you go to work. That's why I do my work. We're trying to help each other to accomplish our dreams. And to do that more efficiently, if we're able to manifest the energy that it takes to continue to focus on what it is that our role is in this interwoven tapestry of universal life, the more it is that we ease the tension on that tapestry so that other people can fit into their piece of fabric without causing stress on the rest of the fabric, if that makes sense. So I hope that you've listened along and that the words that I'm sharing aren't too roundabout. And I hope that you've got some kind of nature around you that you can go out and spend some time enjoying peace within. And also, may your gardens be blessed, and may your life be blessed with abundance and health. Our health is our wealth. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, please do me the honor of subscribing and check out my I guess the video links information that I post at the bottom of the video. It has additional information as far as what it is that I'm talking about, and you might find that I have other topics that are noteworthy. Stay tuned, have a great day, and it's all going to work out. We're all in this together. Don't forget, if you have any obstacles, when you lay yourself down at night and say your prayers, name out the obstacles. Name out the things you want and the obstacles. For an example, if you need to pay some bills, some kind of bills, I need more money, my obstacles are my bills. And then you start kind of going to sleep focusing on these things, and your subconscious does some unusual things while you're asleep. I've talked about food and dreams when it comes to health. That's my main focus. Those are the two topics that are touched on in many spiritual texts. And a lot of times when I talk to people about these things directly, they get a little bit frightened, because talking about food, that's a primal thing. And right now, especially while our food options and toilet paper options continue to get limited, we start running into fear-based reactions. Instead of reacting to things, we need to be a little bit more receptive to not reacting to things and just kind of going with the flow. When you go with the flow, things are a lot easier in life. And there are a lot of people going with the flow already, and sometimes we go against the flow, and that's why things seem so difficult. Have you ever watched The Matrix and seen when Neo first tries to learn to walk through the crowd? He gets distracted by the woman in the red dress. Before the woman in the red dress, he's still getting run into by all these people. You either go against the flow or you go with the flow. And that's really all there is to it in life. There are so many movies that talk about these same theories. There's so many ways that we can learn it, but the easiest way is to learn it in person. Peace is peace. Peace is yielding to one another to help one another accomplish their dreams. This is not an individual race. This is a group effort with individual components, and all we can do is to be the best version of ourselves as our individual component to ease the burden on the fabric that's around us. And when we do that, the rest of the fabric falls into perfect alignment and begins to reciprocate that ease and tension. Have a great day. Peace. Thanks for watching.